Steelers fan would go into Week 12. Steelers are looking at Kyle. Steelers are looking at a completely different season now than what they were at the beginning of the season. What turned around? What happened? And I don't know that you guys really know that Bell didn't even show up this year.
Yeah, I think that the team kind of started off 1-2-1, and as a result, there was a lot of panic in Pittsburgh, as there often is when there's any sign of discourse within the team. But they did what they've done the past few years and went on a fairly significant winning streak. I think in Tomlin's last 3 seasons, he's had a 6-game winning streak, a 5-game winning streak, and a 7-game winning streak. So it's been they've seen these pretty consistent streaks that have kind of built them or dug them out of the mud a little bit. Their offense has been pretty good. They probably are still underperforming a little bit, probably more than they could. James Conner was a welcome addition to the team. I think the issues surrounding whether or not Bell was going to show up started to go away after about week 4 or 5 when Conner was showing he could be the guy in the backfield. Juju Smith-Schuster took a huge jump with his second year as people were hoping he would. Antonio Brown has actually had what people would consider kind of a low season for himself. He hasn't had near the amount of targets and catches that people are used to seeing him have. People are really trying to take him out of game, but he's still getting touchdowns. I think he's tied in the NFL right now with the wide receiver touchdowns, the pass catcher touchdowns, with like Eric Ebron, who's been playing out of his mind, and a couple of other people. But the team is playing really, really well, but it all really kind of falls on Ben's back. The defense has played significantly better. I think still not having Ryan Shazier in the middle of the field, people were a little bit worried about what that was going to look like, and they've really shored up their run defense. So the last couple of weeks, not so much that Stephon Tuitt has been hurt on their defensive line, but they've played really, really well. That being said, they have a really tough stretch here for the end of the season. They have the Chargers on Sunday night. They have the Patriots a couple weeks later, and then the Saints the week after that. So they do play Oakland and Cincinnati to kind of end their season, but that's 3 very, very tough games in an AFC division that is getting closer and closer at the top. So I would not be surprised to see them with a 2 seed. I would not be surprised to see them with a 4 seed. But I don't think at this point the Ravens are going to be able to catch them in the AFC North. I'm actually really happy that the Steelers have played the Browns early on, because they are looking like a team that is starting to kind of become the team that people thought they were going to be, as I'm sure Adam will attest to. But I'm really excited about what the Steelers look like this season. I will be honest and say that I will not be shocked if in 2 years from now the Browns kind of become the toast of the AFC North.
Well, and we'll see how that plays out. And, Connor, thank you for the recommendation early on about who to pick up on fantasy football. He's paid off on that. Adam, I know you're a Cleveland Browns guy. Obviously, your Cleveland Browns goes against the Texans. I'm going to root for the Browns tomorrow. They looked good last week against the Bengals. Obviously, we know we could say it was just the Bengals, but a win is a win is a win. Liking Baker Mayfield and this Nick Chubb team up. They seem to be doing well together. Baker's doing well. Everything seems to be firing on all cylinders. Unfortunately, it's happening late. I do agree with Kyle. You guys keep going in the right direction. Get yourself a coach. You might be turning things around there. It may no longer be the mistake on the lake. Adam, what are your thoughts? Your Cleveland Browns, last week's game against the Bengals, this week's game against the Texans.
Yeah, last week, against the Bengals, we raced out to 35 points early in the third quarter and then just kind of let up off the gas. I think we see that a lot from young teams. Could have been a lot worse for Cincinnati if we wouldn't have tried to essentially slow the game or shorten the length of the game, limit any potential big plays or big mistakes. As far as the Texans game on Sunday, J.J. Watt right now is listed as questionable. Obviously, if JJ is not playing, that makes it significantly easier on our offensive line. Greg Robinson at left tackle, the former number 2 overall pick, has actually kind of solidified the left tackle position for us, and the line has played significantly better since Hugh Jackson's pet project, Desmond Harrison, was removed from the starting lineup. I think that the team plays now with the kind of swagger and chip on their shoulder that Baker has. It's something that we needed. We needed a leader like Baker Mayfield to kind of come in and just tell people, I don't care what you think. We're gonna win with you or without you. And so I think we're gonna surprise people, and we're gonna see an upset of the Texans. The Texans have been on this winning streak, but they've done it really outside of that Texans game in really unimpressive fashion. Wins of 1, 3. So I could see a scenario where I think the Texans get out early, and Baker brings us back, and we have a scenario where Baker is engineering a fourth quarter comeback and pulls out the win. I definitely think this is also going to be a big game where we see some of our bigger players step up. I think Nick Chubb's going to have a good game. I think Jarvis Landry's going to have a good game. I think David Njoku could have a big game. And I would see 1 to 2 game-changing plays from number 95, Myles Garrett, continue his ascension up the best defensive ends in the NFL list.
Well, I know we only got you guys here for a couple more minutes, but I do want to get into the conversation about the Indianapolis Colts. Let's not deny the fact, yes, in full disclosure, and they're my favorite team. They're my team, the Indianapolis Colts. I support them win or lose, but you got to be on the train. You got to get on the bandwagon right now with these Indianapolis Colts. Even though the reality is that Andrew Luck will not win the MVP, certainly in the discussions. He's certainly come back. The Colts are back. They're playing a very banged up, confused, and disoriented Jacksonville Jaguars. If the Browns beat the Texans and the Falcons beat the Ravens and the Colts beat Jacksonville, all very good scenarios, very, very positive scenarios, even without Jack Doyle, who's got a kidney injury. Ironically, I think it's the same injury that Andrew Luck has. And so I'm certain that we're not going to see Jack Doyle back on the field anymore this year, but certainly Frank Reich has came in, turned this team around, has won the locker room, has won the press. I think you got to give a passing grade on all points, on all accounts. Yeah, there's been some mistakes made this year, and could they have done some things better? Did they choke a little bit? Yeah, but overall, I think they are far better positioned than what anybody thought they would be. We'll start with you, Kyle, as we look at the AFC playoff picture. Coming together, it's a very real possibility that the Indianapolis Colts could land a wild card spot.
Yeah, I think at this point that 6th seed is really up for grabs. The Colts have been playing really, really well. I think it's really going to be a 2-man race between them and the Ravens at this point. It's really a matter of how much John Harbaugh trusts Joe Flacco or wants to see what Lamar Jackson has, and in some cases he may be playing for his job. So there's a whole lot of question marks around that franchise. I think the Colts are playing out of their mind right now. I think when they started off at 1-4 at the beginning of the season, people were sort of wrote them off and, oh yeah, this is what we thought was going to happen. If they end 8-8, people will be pretty okay with it. But they have just come out of the gate firing and beating people bad. And Frank Reich's offensive, I think people are now seeing that he was really a lot of the brainchild behind what really engineered that Philadelphia offense. He was kind of the guiding force there. I think Doug Peterson got a lot of credit for that. But it really looks like what we're seeing in Indianapolis is very similar to what Philadelphia was able to engineer the last couple of years. And he has brought that team to really believe in themselves, to believe that they can really beat anybody with, quite honestly, not a whole lot of offensive talent, with a whole bunch of people that no one had ever heard of until this year. That he made Eric Ebron relevant again after being such a complete bust in Detroit. T.Y. Hilton is actually having back-to-back consistent games. They have a bunch of no-name receivers and no-name running backs who are consistently getting them points and making big plays at big moments. It's really impressive to watch, and I would not be surprised to see them get into the 6th seed and be a dangerous out if they're able to get into the playoffs. I think that people are going to be a little bit worried about the Colts.
Well, we just one step at a time, one game at a time. Adam Jimenez, what are your thoughts? The AFC playoff picture as it's shaping up now. You still can't outrule the New England Patriots, even though they haven't been playing the way that we expect the New England Patriots to play. But they are, again, winning games and checking off boxes in the AFC as well. AFC South, right now it appears that it belongs to the Texans, but a loss to the Browns tomorrow, an Indianapolis win, there's a lot of scenarios here that could tighten that race in the AFC South. Of course, the AFC North, you lie in there. We look at the Ravens, we look at the Steelers. As we look at this AFC playoff picture beginning to take form, what are your thoughts? Adam, are you still with us?
Can you hear me now, Tom?
Well, I see. I can hear you now. Go ahead. Sorry, I had you on mute.
Well, one of the things that I think that we're seeing is how lucky the Colts got that Josh McDaniels decided to do what he did.
I know, exactly right.
Pretty pissed off when it happened, and now it's like, hey, Josh, thanks for bailing us out, man. I think the Colts are definitely on that trajectory to make some serious noise. They have a lot of cap space in upcoming years. They have a great coach who it looks like his players just love playing for the guy. So I think this is one of those scenarios where the Colts are on track a lot faster than anyone ever thought they would be at this point. So, yeah, I do see a scenario where the Colts, I think, are going to make the playoffs. I think all of those teams, the Ravens have gotten lucky with the Lamar Jackson experience the last 2 weeks, playing some pretty struggling teams. They're going to, at some point, they're going to hit a wall. They're going to hit it several games with their quarterback situation, whether it's Flacco, who's the most average quarterback in the league right now, or Lamar Jackson. I think the only thing that worries me at this point for the Colts is injuries. The Colts don't have a ton of depth, as we saw early when the team was really banged up. Marlon Mack's coming back from a concussion. Doyle's out for the rest of the season, and right now Mo Alley-Cox is hurt as well, who's been kind of that surprise third tight end who had the amazing one-handed touchdown catch a few weeks ago. Ebron's going to be good. I think the Colts should kind of win easily this week with the Jags having to start Cody Kessler. But down the stretch, the number one thing for the Colts, I know I was watching the Colts game last week, and when Darius Leonard went down that first series, I was like, oh crap, that can't happen. The rookie NFL tackling leader right now, he needs to be there. And so I think you're seeing guys start to step up and play better, including Anthony Walker, the Mike linebacker. I think we're continuing to see good moves out of Tyquan Lewis, the rookie defensive end from Ohio State. We're seeing Kenny Moore at corner play get better every week, in addition to Ebron with Coach Reich just putting him in awesome positions. He uses freakish physical ability. Coach Reich's pushing all the right buttons right now, and I think it's a young team that there's going to be a letdown game at some point. But I think Andrew Luck is good enough as a quarterback to do what he did last week against the Dolphins, which was have a letdown game and still engineer a fourth quarter comeback and win. So I think the Colts are in a great position, and if I am a team at the top of the conference, there is no chance I want to be playing the Colts in the playoffs. No chance, because they are we've seen Andrew Luck beat teams in the past. Now, will they go to the Super Bowl? Probably not. I would be shocked. But with the Chiefs losing Kareem Hunt, the AFC is wide open now. I would not be surprised even to see San Diego make a run at the division. We'll see how well, how good the Chiefs